Condenser microphone is also called a capacitor microphone or an electrostatic microphone. Small diaphragm condensers have a screen at the end of the mic, like a dynamic mic, and most, but not all, are considered to be front address mics, like dynamic mics used for vocals, because the sound comes into the front of the microphone. Large diaphragm condensers are typically addressed from one side or the other, depending on the mic's pickup pattern, and so are considered side address microphones. The term pattern refers to the area from which a microphone effectively picks up sound. A pattern limited to the area directly in front of the screen is called a cardioid pattern, and is best when you need to pick up a close audio source while rejecting other sound in the area. An omni pattern will gather sound all around the perimeter of the microphone, including sound outside of your sound source. A figure 8 pattern, as the name suggests, will gather sound directly from the front and rear of the microphone while rejecting, to various degrees, sound on the sides of the microphone. Most large diaphragm condensers have a fixed cardioid response pattern, although some, called switchable units, also feature figure 8 or omni patterns, and others, called variable, have variable patterns that cover all the areas in between. For most purposes, you'll probably be using the cardioid pattern. There may be times, however, when an omni or figure 8 pattern could be beneficial, such as when you'd like to record the room sound of a natural ambience, or record two singers at once in figure 8. Recording the cymbals, you're often confronted with an asymmetrical setup, as you can see here. We're trying to focus on the cymbals with the overheads, but we're also getting a stereo picture of the kit. So from the center of the kit, which is really the kick and snare where the drummer is sitting, we need to be somewhat equidistant. So this mic is going to have to get 3 cymbals, not an easy task for a condenser. And this mic is going to get this cymbal and this side of the kit. Now there's one more mic, maybe an optional mic, which might be somewhat over the drummer's head, which is going to pick up a mono picture of what he hears. Okay, here's my overhead mono mic. I'm using a large diaphragm condenser because it's going to have a big sound. And you can see that I've set it on omni, which means it's picking up sound all around. It's going to get the sound of the room, and it's going to get a really nice picture of the drums. Okay, we're going to set up our mics for our horn section. We got a sax and a trumpet today. Today we're doing a section, so we're just going to use one mic on each guy to keep it simple. And I have a pop screen here. This is because moisture comes out of the end of any brass instrument, and if it goes into your microphone, it's really not good. And actually, a condenser mic will shut off if it gets overly moist. This is a ribbon, which is a little bit warmer, so it's going to be fine. That looks excellent. We have a large diaphragm condenser on reeds and a ribbon mic on brass, and that's going to sound fantastic. I'm going to use a large diaphragm condenser. This is how all the Beatle records were made. This is an U87. They used U67s, and they stuck them right in front of the amp. So the amp can't be too awfully loud because you'll hurt the mic. So this is the speaker right here. I kind of want to be in the center of the speaker. Not too close, but not too far away. I don't want it to be roomy sounding. And I want to check that my mic is set to cardioid, because the heart shape will get the sound here, but not any reflections from the back of the room. One thing to note about cardioid microphones is that they often suffer from a proximity effect. This produces an exaggerated low end from too much air pressure in the signal when the subject is too close to the microphone capsule. Other features you may find on a good microphone include a pad switch, which will reduce the overall level of the signal. This is helpful for tracking percussive sounds, such as a drum being struck, since using a pad protects you from accidental clipping, where the signal exceeds a certain volume, causing bad distortion during recording. You might also find a low-frequency roll-off switch, and this helps to reduce vibration-induced rumble from the microphone stand or excessive boominess. Here we have a large diaphragm condenser microphone. The diaphragm is actually inside here under the grill, and it's larger than 3/4 of an inch. That's why we call it large diaphragm condenser. This is called a switchable pattern microphone because with this switch right here, I can change the pattern from omni to cardioid or heart shape to figure 8, where one sound comes from this side, one sound comes from this side. This is great for singing background vocals. The Beatles used to sing facing each other, so their voices would be accepted here, but any extraneous sounds on the side would be rejected. That's the beauty of the figure 8 pattern. This microphone also has the 2 additional elements we spoke about. It's got a pad, which if I switch it in, it reduces the signal level by 10 dBs. And it's also got a bass frequency roll-off. If I cut that in, the microphone rejects bass frequencies below a certain level. Certain instruments like acoustic guitars and cymbals are better suited to small diaphragm condensers. These microphones are similar to large diaphragm condensers in design and function, but often possess a more pronounced high-end response. This is a small condenser microphone, and as we said, most of them are front addressed. The condenser element is right inside here. And this particular microphone features a bass roll-off with 3 positions, so I can roll off a little bit, a medium amount, or quite a bit of bass. This is good for things like getting close to hi-hats and other cymbals because the low frequency of the cymbal is rejected, whereas the high frequencies are picked up very well. Small condenser microphones were actually invented for television because the large condenser microphones were too obtrusive in front of the speakers. They were invented to be placed in front of announcers without distracting. They actually have pretty similar frequency response, both large condensers and small condensers. But small condensers can get into tight places like inside of pianos or up close on an acoustic guitar, things like that. So they're very valuable to work your way into tight spaces. Like their bigger siblings, small diaphragm condensers require power, sometimes phantom, sometimes from an onboard battery, and other times from an electret, which carries a permanent charge. An electret microphone is a type of condenser microphone that doesn't require an external power supply, such as phantom power. Like other condenser microphones, electrets require a mic preamp, as their signal output is very low. This is an example of an electret microphone.